Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's card is a fun Halloween card made using Lawn Fawn's Tiny Halloween Spooky Village. I also did some really fun Distress Oxide Ink backgrounds, so let's get started. So I am using some wonky frames from Simon Says Stamp, and I don't remember exactly what they're called, so I'll have that in the description. But I'm going to run that through my die cut machine because I want to have a little nice kind of a frame, if that makes sense. But it makes this fun little stitched wonky stitching around the outside. Now I'm going to take a circle die, and these are from Pink and Main's Stitched Circle Die. I'm running that through my die cut machine. I am making a nice window in this front panel piece of cardstock. I'm going to trace just a light circle so I know where my images are going to be, if that makes sense. I'm also cutting out a circle out of regular cardstock for the moon. So now let's do some inking. So I'm using Distress Oxide Inks in Mowed Lawn and Twisted Citron. First it was Twisted Citron inside of this circle. I didn't want to ink up the whole panel of cardstock when it wasn't necessary. So Twisted Citron, and now I'm doing Mowed Lawn, and that little circle piece, that's going to be the moon. And so I'm kind of just laying that down to where that is going to be the lighter, brighter part of the green sky, if that makes sense. So I'm blending those two colors together, and then I'm going to be adding a little bit of black soot Distress Oxide around the edge. So it just kind of gives it that darker, little bit of creepier nighttime feel. Just going back and forth through all of that, making sure I get a really nice seamless blend. The white paper I'm using is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. And I'm just going to blend and blend and blend until I get the look that I want. Adding a little more green, adding a little more black, and I think we're pretty good. Putting my front card base on top so I can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. But I felt like I needed a little bit darker at the bottom there. Adding a little bit of water to give kind of that speckly look that you get from Distress Oxide inks when it reacts with the water. So awesome. So now I'm using Lawn Fawn's Storm Cloud, and I'm going to be also using their the stitched Hillside border, and I'm just making a little bit of grass, but I'm cutting it out of Storm Cloud cardstock because I want it to be dark. It needs to be there, but I don't need it to stand out. I will do a little bit of inking on this with some of the Distress Oxide inks. This is Lawn Fawn's Spooky Fence. I'm cutting it out of Lawn Fawn's Black Licorice cardstock. So here I'm taking the Mowed Lawn, adding a little bit of green to that hill. Nothing spectacular, but just to give it a little bit of the grass look, but that it's still dark and at night. Now this is the front panel that we cut the little wonky stitching out of and the circle. And so for this, I'm going to be using Wilted Violet, Distress Oxide inks. Sorry about that, you guys. And then I will be also using some black soot. And I'm going to do this whole thing and then a little bit of black soot around the edges just to give it that nice darker color, more Halloween feel on the front of this card. This was kind of the traditional purple and green for me, and I really do love how it turned out. So again, here's the black soot just around the edges. Same thing when you do any ink blending, just blend it till you get a nice cohesive look. The more ink that you get down, the easier it starts to blend because the paper is so saturated. Just going around, I wasn't quite sure how much black I wanted. I actually ended up putting more than I had originally thought because I really liked how it looked. And I think that the Wilted Violet is a perfect Halloween purple color. So getting all that, and as you can see how all of that is just coming together and smoothing out nicely. You don't have any blotchiness. It looks really, really good. I'm going to clean up my work surface and we're going to move on. So now I'm going to stamp my little images from the Tiny Halloween Spooky Village from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to be coloring those with Copic markers. I am stamping that with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black Ink because it is Copic friendly. And there's just a few little images. I think what's great about this card is you've got this scene card, but it's just the tiny center of the card. And I think that's kind of a fun way to do it if you don't want to do a full big scene card. So here are the Copic markers. I'm going to have those up on the screen for you. We're coloring the cute little tree. I'm using E37, 49, 57, 55, and 59 for the house and the tree. I will also be using W00, 1, 3, 4, and 5, YG21, G09, C4, 6, and 8. I really think these little images from Lawn Fawn are super cute. This little house is so cute, and I just really wanted it to feel like an old, creepy, abandoned house. So that's why I just did it in browns and grays. Obviously, you could do it in a fun purple, orange, purple and black would be fun if it was like a little witch's house or something like that. I think you could totally get away with that. But like I said, I just really wanted it to feel more abandoned. And so I just kept the colors pretty neutral. Laying down the lights, coming in with the darks for shadows and things like that does give it nice dimension, even on these little tiny images. The little kitty is going to be colored with the C4, 6, and 8. I'm using the YG21 for the windows. It was kind of a yellowy green, and so I really liked that for the windows. It kind of, not like it's lit up, but a little bit of a creepy feel maybe. And C4, 6, and 8 for the roof of the house. So it kind of gives you that black without using black markers. Using the really dark grays actually gives you the feeling that it is black. So on this cat, I'm using the same thing, but you can tell it's a black cat. So that's a good way to use, to get images to look black. And then for the tombstones, I'm going to be using the W00, 1, 3, 4, and 5. And adding those to make those look like gray stone. And adding little dots here and there with the colored markers. This is really super simple. And then on the ghost, W00 and 1, just to give him a little bit of shading, but he still looks white. But you do need to add something like that, whether it's in a really light blue or a light gray to your white images, because it does make them come to life and they don't look flat. If you leave them uncolored, it just doesn't. It just looks like it's not been finished. So there's the YG21 for the windows. And when I'm all done coloring these, I've cut them out with my die cut machine. So now I'm laying everything out because the cute little bats from the tiny Halloween spooky village, I'm trying to lay those out using the Misty so I can just kind of get them all stamped at once. Stamping these, I'm going to use Ranger's Archival Jet Black ink. It stamps so nice over Distress Oxide inks. You get a nice, crisp, bright black. And that's why I use it over Distress Oxide inks, because sometimes your other darker inks, they look black and it's beautiful. It's just not as vibrant. So that's why I use that ink. So I'm going to stamp all these cute little bats around on my sky, on my fun green Halloween sky, and clean those off, and I'm just going to be adding one more. Lining that up, inking it, and getting it stamped. And look how great that looks. Now I'm going to be inking up my little circle that we cut out for the moon, and I am using Ranger's, it's their gray tinted embossing powder. And I'm going to be using their new Flurries Speckle embossing powder. This is perfect for a moon. You could use the Flurries, which is kind of a white gray color, or you could even use the Lemon Drop, which I did on another card. But I'm going to heat that up. I'm going to start heating from behind so you don't blow off all of the fun speckles that speckle embossing powder has. I'm going to glue down the moon. I'm actually going to glue down all my pieces and parts, get everything lined up for this little mini scene card, and make sure that everything is lined up where you can see the gate and the house and everything makes sense. I just love this little scene card. I think it turned out so cute. You've got this whole idea of what's going on, and it's perfect. So I'm going to adhere all of that down. I'm just making a little line so I know where the grass and the fence is going to be so I don't go too high or too low. But I'm going to use some liquid glue. I'm using Lawn Fawn's glue tube, but any liquid glue would work. Just a little bit of glue, and I'm going to glue that down to the little stitched hillside border. I love that little spooky fence. I think it is so fantastic. And then I'm going to glue this down to our back panel. Okay, now it's time to, sorry, I had glue, and so I'm using my 2-in-1 to scrape off the little glue that was sticking out. I'm going to get my house glued down. And I love the little kitty walking along the fence. I just thought that was a really cute idea. The tree I'm actually tucking behind the hillside border, and the tombstone's a little bit behind that fence, and then we will adhere this cute little kitty onto the fence. You could use foam tape or anything like that if you wanted to pop these images up, but I'm going to pop up the front panel. So now I'm going to line up the sentiment that says have a spooktacular day, and again I'm going to be using Ranger's Archival Jet Black ink because this is an inked panel. Just making sure it's nice and straight. Sometimes I feel like it is straight, and I'm thinking it's crooked. I don't know, but it was straight, thankfully. So I'm going to ink that up, and then I'm taking the little spider from one of the other little Halloween sets, and I'm lining it up with the L in Spooktacular, so it looks like the spider is hanging down from that letter. Thank goodness for editing, because I am not kidding you guys. It took me forever to line up that little spider on his spider web onto this L. It was starting to become a little bit ridiculous. I was thinking, is it ever going to work? It's such a little stamp, and it kept sticking to my fingers, but it worked. So I inked it up, and you can see it's hanging down from there, and I just thought that that was really super cute. I put foam tape, behind that front panel. I'm going to line that up. Then we're going to attach this to an A2 size card base. So now the front panel has a little bit of dimension. This would be cute too as a shaker card with that Halloween scene behind that. I think I may have to make that, you guys, now that I'm talking about it. I think that would be really cute. Adding a little bit of black glaze pen to the ghosts and the ghost and the kitty to the eyes. I didn't do any white gel pen like I usually do. I just kind of left it how it was. I just liked the card how it was. And some Nuvo glitter drops to the windows. You could do glossy accents or Ranger's diamond stickles, however you want to do it. I wanted to have a little glitter in the windows because I kind of wanted it to feel a little bit magical, if that makes sense. Cleaning up some of the edges of that because they're tiny windows. And look at how cute that is, you guys. How fun. What a fun Halloween card. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope you like what you've seen. I hope I inspired you. If you do, please thumbs up, subscribe, please share, and I love all of your comments, so please keep doing that. I have some affiliate links below. It costs you nothing, but it does help me to continue to make these videos. Thank you guys so much, and I'll be back soon.